Hello everyone, I'm CA Neeraj B. Welcome to my YouTube channel @Accounting Buddy NB. In today's lesson, we will focus on practical questions from the chapter Provisions and Reserves. This session does not cover theory, as the objective here is to strengthen your understanding through application and quick concept checks. We will begin with high skill questions which requires a deeper understanding of the concepts. After that, we will move to very short question answers designed to test your clarity on the topic provisions and reserves. We will also cover true or false and fill in the blanks questions and answers to test your understanding of the topic. So sit back, relax and watch the full video. In this section, we will take up few high-scale question and answers. Question number 1 is, do you think that a provision is a charge against profit? And the answer is, yes, a provision is a charge against profit for the purpose of providing for any liability or loss. Question number 2 is, if the amount of a known liability can be ascertained with accuracy, it should be treated as a liability or a provision. And the answer is, it should be treated as a liability and not a provision. Question number 3 is, a provision can be specific or general. Do you agree? And the answer is, a provision can be specific. For example, provision against a particular debtor, or it can also be general. For example, provision expressed as a percentage of total debtors. Question number 4 is, reserve is not a liability in the real sense. Do you agree with this statement? And the answer is, yes, reserve is not a liability in the real sense. It represents accumulated divisible profit which belongs to the shareholders, just like capital, which has not distributed as dividend as yet. That is why it is shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Question number 5 is, capital reserves are freely distributed as profits. Comment. And the answer is, no, capital reserves are not freely distributed as profits. Question number 6, capital reserve may or may not involve any receipts of cash. Do you agree? And the answer is, yes, capital reserves may or may not involve any receipts of cash. In this section, we will cover very short answer type questions. Question number 7 is, what is meant by provision? And the answer is, provision is an amount set aside by charging it in the profit and loss account to provide for a known liability, the amount of which cannot be determined with accuracy. Question number 8 is, give 2 examples of provision. And the answer is, provision for depreciation and provision for repairs. Question number 9 is, what is a reserve? And the answer is, it is an amount set aside out of the profits to strengthen the financial position. Question number 10 is provision a charge or appropriation of profit? And the answer is, it is a charge against profits. Question number 11 is reserve a charge or appropriation of profit? And the answer is, it is an appropriation of profit. Question number 12 is, can provision be made without profits? And the answer is, yes, it is required to be made irrespective of the fact whether the business is making profits or loss. Question number 13 is, can reserve be created without profit? And the answer is, no, reserves are created only when there is a profit. Question number 14, does provision reduce profit? And the answer is, yes, provision is a charge to the profit and loss account. Thus, it reduces the profit of the business. Question number 15, does reserve reduce profit? And the answer is, no, reserve is created from the profit. Question number 16, give one example of reserve. And the answer is, general reserve or capital reserve. Question number 17 is, reserves are shown on which side of the balance sheet? And the answer is, reserves are shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Question number 18 is out of provision and reserves which appears on the liability side of the balance sheet. And the answer is both provision and reserve appear on the liability side of the balance sheet. Question number 19, provision is made for what kind of liability? And the answer is known liability of uncertain amount. Question number 20, reserve is made for what purpose? And the answer is to meet future contingencies or strengthen financial position. Question number 21 is provision mandatory or optional? And the answer is creating provision is mandatory so that the financials reflect correct profitability and financial position. Question number 22 is what is meant by journal reserves? And the answer is journal reserve is the amount set aside out of the profits for no specific purpose. Question number 23 is what is meant by capital reserves? And the answer is capital reserve means reserve created out of capital profits. Question number 24 is give two examples of capital reserve. And the answer is profit earned prior to incorporation and premium on issue of shares. Question number 25, what is meant by revenue reserves? And the answer is revenue reserves are the reserves being the amount set aside out of the revenue profits. Question number 26 is name the reserve that can be used in distribution of dividend. And the answer is revenue reserve. Question number 27 is what is meant by specific reserve? And the answer is specific reserve is the reserve created for a specific purpose and can be utilized only for that purpose. Question number 28 is what is meant by reserve fund? And the answer is reserve fund means reserve the amount of which has been invested outside the business. Question number 29 is give one example of provision and reserve. And the answer is provision for tax and for reserve the example is journal reserve. Question number 30, differentiate between revenue reserve and capital reserve on the basis of source. And the answer is revenue reserve is created out of the business profits whereas the capital reserve is created out of the capital profits. Question number 31 is give one difference between provision and reserve. And the answer is provision is a charge on profit whereas reserve is an appropriation of profit. In this section, we will take a few multiple choice questions. Question number 32 is reserves arising from the capital receipts are known as, and the available options are option A capital reserve, option B reserve fund, option C revenue reserve, and option D none of these. And the correct answer is option A capital reserve. Question number 33 is provisions are, and the available options are option A external transactions, option B internal transactions, option C both A and B, and option D none of these. And the correct answer is option B internal transactions. Question number 34 is a provision is, and the available options are option A an appropriation of profit, option B charge against profit, option C capital expense, and option D none of these. And the correct answer is option B charge against profit. Question number 35 is if the amount of any known liability cannot be determined with substantial accuracy, it is, and the available options are option A liability, option B provision, option C reserve, and option D none of these. And the correct answer is option A liability. Question number 36 is which reserve is not shown in the balance sheet? And the available options are option A secret reserve, option B revenue reserve, option C capital reserve, and option D none of these. And the correct answer is option A secret reserve. Question number 37 is reserve is, and the available options are option A part of provision, Option B, an appropriation of profit. Option D, none of these. And option D, a charge against profit. And the correct answer is option B, an appropriation of profit. Question number 38 is, which of the following is an example of revenue reserve? And the available options are option A, general reserve, option B, capital reserve, option C, workman compensation reserve, and option D, none of these. And the correct answer is option A, general reserve. Question number 39 is, which of the following is an example of specific reserve? And the available options are option A, workman compensation reserve, option B, debenture redemption reserve, option C, dividend equalization reserve, and option D, all of these. And the correct answer is option D, all of these are the examples of specific reserve. In this section, we will take up few true and false question and answers. Question number 40 is, provision is made for a known liability, the amount of which can be estimated accurately. This is a true statement. Provisions are created for known liabilities whose amount or timing is uncertain but can be estimated. For example, provisions for doubtful debts or provision for tax. Question number 41 is, reserve is created to meet a specific known liability. This is a false statement. Reserves are created to strengthen the financial position or meet unknown future contingencies, not specific liabilities. Question number 42 is, creation of provision reduces the profit of the business. This is a true statement. Provisions are created as expenses and are deducted from the profit before arriving at the net profit of the business. Question number 43 is, reserve is a charge against profit. This is a false statement. Reserve is an appropriation of profit, not a charge. It is created after profit is determined. Question number 44 is, provision appears on the asset side of the balance sheet. This is again a false statement. Provisions are shown as liabilities or deducted from the related assets, such as provision for doubtful debts deducted from the debtors. Question number 45 is, reserve increases the working capital of the business. This is a true statement. Since reserves are retained earnings, they are available as internal funds and increase working capital. Question number 46 is, provision for depreciation is an example of a reserve. This is a false statement. It is a provision, not a reserve, because it is made for a known loss, that is the wear and tear of the fixed assets. Question number 47 is, general reserve can be used for any business purpose. And this is a true statement. General reserve is not meant for a specific purpose. Management can use it for expansion, dividend, or contingencies. Question number 48 is, specific reserves are created for a particular purpose. And this is a true statement. Examples include dividend equalization reserve, debenture redemption reserve, etc. Question number 49 is, provision is generally shown on the debit side of the profit and loss account. This is a true statement. Provision is an expense, so it appears on the debit side of the profit and loss account. Question number 50 is, creation of reserve decreases the total assets of the company. This is a false statement. Reserves are created from profits so that assets remain the same. Only the profit distribution changes. Question number 51 is, provision for bad debt is made to show the debtors at their realizable value. This is a true statement. Purpose of making this provision is to adjust expected losses and show debtors at a realistic figure. Question number 52 is, reserve fund is the same as reserve. This is a false statement. Reserve fund means the reserve is invested outside the business, while a simple reserve may not be invested. Question number 53 is, provision for tax is a charge against profit. and this statement is a true statement. It is a liability expected to arise in the current year and is deducted before arriving at the net profit. Question number 54 is secret reserves are shown separately in the balance sheet. This is a false statement. Secret reserves are hidden by undervaluing assets or overstating liabilities. Hence, they are not shown openly. Question number 55 is provisions are made as per the prudence concept of accounting. This is a true statement. The prudence concept suggests providing for all expected losses and not anticipated profits. Question number 56 is the creation of a reserve is mandatory under all circumstances. And this statement is a false statement. Only some reserves like debenture redemption reserve are statutory, others are optional. Question number 57 is provision is a part of liability while reserve is a part of owner's equity. This is a true statement. Provisions are obligations whereas reserves are retained earnings belonging to the owner. In this section, we will take a few fill in the blanks questions. Question number 58 is a dash is an amount set aside out of the profits for a known liability or decrease in the asset value. And the correct word is the provision is an amount set aside out of the profits. Provisions are created for known liabilities or expected losses. For example, provision for bad debts, provision for depreciation. Question number 59 is a dash is created from profits to strengthen the financial position of the business and is not meant to meet any specific liability. And the correct word is a reserve is created from the profits. Reserves are appropriation of profit like journal reserve or capital reserve, and it improves the financial stability of the business. Question number 60 is provision for doubtful debts is classified as a dash in the balance sheet, and the correct word is liability. Provision for doubtful debts reduces the carrying amount of receivables, so it is a contra asset. Question number 61 is the main purpose of creating a reserve is to dash, and the correct word is financial stability. Reserves help business expansion, meet contingencies, or declare dividends. Question number 62 is provision for depreciation is created to account for dash of assets, and the correct word is wear and tear of assets. Depreciation allocates the cost of an asset over its useful life. Question number 63 is a capital reserve is usually created from dash and is not available for the distribution as dividend. And the correct word is capital profits. Capital profits arise from the non-operating activities such as sales of fixed asset. Question number 64 is a journal reserve is an example of a dash reserve, and the correct word is revenue reserve. It is created from the profits earned from the normal business operations. Question number 65 is provision for income tax is shown under dash in the balance sheet, and the correct word is current liabilities. It represents a known obligation to the government. Question number 66 is provision for contingencies is created for dash obligations, and the correct word is uncertain obligations. Contingency provisions are made for liabilities that may arise depending on future events. Question number 67 is reserves appear in the dash side of the balance sheet, and the correct word is liability side of the balance sheet. Reserves are part of shareholders' equity and they strengthen the financial position of the business. Question number 68 is provisions are recognized as dash in the profit and loss account, and the correct word is expenses. Provisions reduce profit since they anticipate future liability or asset loss. Question number 69 is provision for bad debts is an example of a dash provision. The correct word is specific provision. It anticipates potential losses from doubtful receivables. Question number 70 is transfer to reserve is recorded on the dash side of the profit and loss appropriation account, and the correct word is debit. Profits are debited to create reserves showing appropriation. Question number 71 is the difference between provision and reserve is that provision reduces dash whereas reserves does not, and the correct word is profit. Provisions are created as expense and reserves are an appropriation of profit. In my next video on 28th March 2026, we will cover 50 plus questions and answers on the topic basic accounting terms. Whether you are a business owner, a student, or just someone looking to strengthen your accounting knowledge, this session is for you. If you enjoy the content of my channel and appreciate my teaching style, please subscribe, share, and like my YouTube channel @accountingbuddy NB. Thank you and goodbye for now.